All right. So the question that I hear most often about pricing is how do you pick a number? And the first thing I want to iterate is that it is picking a number. There are some people that will tell you there is a formula for setting a price. I don't believe there is. If you are using a formula, then I think you're using a crutch and you're not truly pricing, because true pricing requires judgment. Just like we're asking you to use judgment to pick a niche, to set yourself apart as an expert, to create options, to create a productized service. All those things require judgment. And one of the things about judgment is it could be right or it could be wrong. To be more precise, judgment is right or wrong to a degree, but it's never completely right or completely wrong. In other words, it's kind of like darts. We're always trying to get closer to the bullseye, but we'll never completely hit the bullseye because there's always room for improvement. By the same token, once you start pricing, you're going to start hitting within the rings. Now, you may occasionally hit an outer ring and then back to an inner ring, but you're never going to fully miss the target. It's about degrees and it's about using judgment. The pricing matrix is a tool that will help develop your pricing muscles. I want to talk about three types of prices. Now, these are terms that I use. These are not the only ways to characterize your prices, but they're three terms that I find to be helpful, particularly when we're talking about using a matrix. Your baseline price. What is the price for which you would not accept $1 or less? In other words, this is the minimum price for which you would be willing to engage with this customer. If they are not willing to at least pay the baseline, you're going to decline the engagement. That's your baseline. It's your minimum. I think you should, number one, have a baseline for your entire practice. You should have a number for which you're not going to engage any customer in any way below that number. But then you should also consider each time you're bringing in a new customer, what is the baseline for that customer? And that is going to vary, and it's going to be a judgment call. And you're going to take various things into consideration, such as how busy are you? Do you like the customer? Is this an opportunity for you to gain expertise in a new field? Is this customer inside the niche that you've selected? Or are they outside the niche? Is there something about this customer that excites you, etc.? You're going to take multiple things into account. How big is their business? How much do you think you can help them? Do you see a home run where if they will engage you, you know you can make a substantial impact? Those are all things you'll take into account when setting your baseline. Now, amazing is the next type of price. This should be the price you're getting most of the time. And I call it amazing because there should be a healthy profit in this price. It should be an amazing price in that it's an amazing profit. When you start pricing, you should be getting better than average profit on a regular basis. Tell you a story that comes out of the UK. One of my VeriSage colleagues, Paul Kennedy, participated in a benchmarking study for accountants in the UK. And it was around pricing and profitability. And he submitted his numbers. After about 3 months, he didn't hear any feedback. So he pinged them and said, hey, how's that study going? They said, oh, we didn't use your numbers. They were so far outside the norm, we assumed they were not real. His numbers were real, but his profit was so far above his colleagues that the people doing the benchmarking study threw it out as an anomaly. Not with each individual price, but as a general trend over time, you should be getting better profits when you're pricing. And those profits are going to come from amazing prices. These are going to be prices that are generally higher than you would have set previously. But there's a level above amazing, and it's a miracle price. A miracle price is a price that if the customer buys at that level, it's a miracle they accepted it. Now, before you push back and say, well, why would I quote a miracle price? My response would be, If you never quote a miracle price, you'll never be paid a miracle price. And there's nothing that will make a believer out of you than the first time a customer accepts a miracle price. And it won't happen very often, but there are going to be opportunities, and you'll kind of recognize them instinctively based on your intuition of when you should use that price. But I want you to begin to think in these categories: baseline, amazing, and miracle. And by the way, those three words, the first letter, create an acronym for BAM. And your pricing should have that kind of impact on your business. So let's look at what a matrix is now that we understand those three types of prices. It's basically a tic-tac-toe board. The purpose of this tool is to set three prices per option internally. You will only present one of the prices for each option to the customer. Think of this as your practice round before you put a price in front of the customer. So let's walk through this and let me try to clarify it. You'll notice on option 1, which is the first row, I have letters A, B, and C. A represents the baseline price for option 1. B represents the amazing price for option 1. And C represents the miracle price for option 1. When you have to price the same thing 3 different times using 3 different categories of prices, it builds your pricing muscle. It forces you to sharpen your pricing sword. Your judgment becomes sharper. When you set 3 prices, you'll then have the opportunity, before you put the proposal in front of the customer, to go, you know, for option 1, I think I want to put an amazing price in front of them. But for option 2, I think I'll also use amazing, but for option 3, I'll put a baseline price. Or maybe you'll decide to do amazing for all 3. Or maybe you'll decide to do a miracle price for option 1, an amazing price for option 2, and a baseline for option 3. It gives you choices. And so, as I implied, you're going to go down to the next row for option 2, and for D, E, and F, you're going to set 3 prices for option 2, baseline, amazing, and miracle. And then you'll do the same for option 3, X, Y, Z. You will only present one price from each row to the customer, and that will be the price for that option. But the exercise of deciding on a price for each category internally will help you put a better price in front of the customer. It will also help sharpen your pricing muscles. Here's something that I'm quoted on fairly frequently. Hourly billing only requires a calculator. Value pricing requires courage. And if you look at that matrix and it's a little bit scary, that's because that matrix is challenging you to move into the uncomfort zone. One of the things that Hector and I have done throughout this workshop is we have challenged you to move out of your comfort zone into the uncomfort zone. We're challenging you to face your fear, and value pricing does that because it requires courage. Ultimately, you are going to have to pick a number based on judgment, intuition, and experience. And the more you price, the better your pricing will get. One of the things that you should be thinking about on a regular basis with your pricing is, does it pass the underwear test? And here's what the underwear test is. If you don't occasionally need a new pair of underwear, a clean pair of underwear, after presenting a price to a customer, you're not pushing hard enough. That's the underwear test. In other words, there should be occasions where just putting the proposal in front of the customer causes you to soil your underwear. That's the underwear test. Again, we're trying to get you out of the comfort zone.